Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by a very, very special guest. The man who is a Quebecois, adored in Myanmar. That's a rhyme. He is arguably the most savage combat sports athlete on the planet, cruiserweight champion, and the face of global Lethway, David Leduc, King Dave. How are you, my friend?
Thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Very well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, you were on the big board of list of people to have. Just really lucky that we got it done sort of 6-7 weeks in, thanks to you guys chatting. So,
yeah,
how's life? What's going on?
We kind of got stuck a bit in Canada. I went here to buy some property. Supposed to stay only a few weeks, but then boom, the borders got closed and everything. You know the story. So, but I'm a big try to make the positive out of everything. So started, continued training hard, stayed in shape during the entire quarantine, whatever. And we're I actually got a lot of other plans while in this quarantine. I actually starting a restaurant. So
really,
yeah, but it's a pandemic-proof restaurant, meaning that it doesn't matter if they bring another bullshit stories like they brought. It's gonna be pretty cool the way I'm setting it up. So that's one of my project right now. Is obviously I'm gonna have a fight coming up. We can talk about it later, but yeah, and my restaurant empire I'm building it. I don't want to have only a one location. It's going to be a world thing, and whatever I say turns to gold. So mark my words.
Yes, mate. Is that gonna be a vegan? Because you've recently converted, right? You're vegan now. It'll be a vegan restaurant.
Yes, it will be. But I'm not gonna advertise it. It's basically my goal. My point of view is to everything should be like this. Again, that's my point of view, and it's like normalizing it. I'm not gonna the name will not include.
Yeah.
Because technically, people that will eat there will never be able to see the difference because the food is so. It's gonna be like a vegan junk food, very
beautiful.
Hamburgers, name it. All the gooey, cheesy stuff is available in non-dairy and all these things. So yeah, that's the idea, and that's kind of my second life mission right now is to help people with a lot of diseases, that heart disease. So I'm a bit of pissed off at the world governments, especially in my hometown in Canada. We've been lied to. I think something I realized during the pandemic is that it's as easy to corrupt or buy a politician that it is easy to buy a doctor. So
sure.
Doctors have been. I don't care. People don't believe in. They're not vegan yet, but like milk is not a very natural thing to drink from another animal, right? Like a cow's milk is full of hormones, full of stuff that it's supposed to make a baby calf grow to be a very big animal. So it's not very, very natural for us human Homo sapiens to eat. So without going into too much all these things, that's what that's kind of my battles I'm going right now against the governments and the lies. It's lobbied beyond belief, guys. It's a lot of hundreds of millions of billions of dollars being injected in these things. And me as a fucking kid at school, going to school, I looked at the pyramid and I thought, I need to drink yogurt and I need to eat a glass of milk a day and cheese is good for me. And no, it's not. So that's my I never would have thought that martial art would bring me to this, but I'm a big believer that once you have a bit more time on your hand, or maybe you reach a certain status, you can get connected with people that have different point of views, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to educate myself, because it's hard when you're working a 9 to 7 or a 9 to 10, it's 9 to 5. It's hard because you come back home and you're like, fuck, I just want to sleep and relax, but like you're not going to start questioning your leaders and your government. It's a very rare thing that's happening nowadays. And anyway, so that's my little rant on this. That was my what's happening right now. Training super hard, ready for because I'm 28 right now, and I don't want this pandemic
bullshit.
You don't want it taking like a key chunk of your like peak years, right?
Yeah. So it's already been a year since my last fight in August last year. So it's time. I'm itching for a fight.
Now, Ian will probably be cringing when I say this, but I also am a little bit deep on the old conspiracy and or truth-seeking community. Right?
Very, very happy to hear that, and this is a compliment. You know, in Canada right now, we call it conspiracy theorist, but I'm researching a lot on this, and a conspiracy would be flat earthers,
Yeah, exactly.
Reptilians, but actually. This is propaganda from, if you look at the United States in the 1960s, I believe, I'm not sure, when Kennedy got assassinated,
Yep.
There was a bigger rise in the masses of the people saying, you know what,
sure.
What is that? Like, was he really acting alone, or did he get killed? Is it part of a bigger scheme? You know, Kennedy said he was going to take down the elite and take down secret society, and magically got killed afterwards.
Weird, right? Yeah. Weird.
Then the mass media and the CIA started saying, well, you guys, if you don't believe the storyline that we're pushing, you guys are all conspiracy theorists, and you guys, and it eventually turned into an insult. Like it's negative to be, while actually questioning should be like the normal norm. It should be a norm to question. I'm a big believer that we should not trust any government, especially because that should be our first reflex as a society, is to question and then trust, not trust and then and because if you look at history, even in my beautiful Canada, there has been corruption. There's history has shown that when there's power, there's always abuse of power, and that's what's happening right now. And I hope it's not too late to stop the rights being infringed. And I know, like, we want to talk about sports, we want to talk about Leduc and stuff, but it is kind of
we want to talk about
we will, but it is
everything.
Kind of, you know, the Leduc is going to be hard, right? If we can't travel, we have to show our fucking digital passports and all this bullshit right now.
And they never give power back, right? Once they take it,
they never do.
They're never going to say, okay, you know what, you don't need to do this shit anymore. No, once you have to do this, you got to do it forever. So that's why. And it's so easy to blame people and say, oh, this is the way it is. If you don't believe it, you're mad and you're this and that. It's like, no, exactly what you say. You shouldn't. If you can't answer the question, you're mad. Like, why should we just believe something just because you say it? You know?
My favorite is so like in the UK, and I'm sure because it's international. You know, no one really knows the restriction. I mean, you can look into the restrictions in each nation, but we just had a bunch of new restrictions put on in the UK, which it includes anywhere that has my bank texts me today to say, if you have a physical premises, you are mandated to have a QR code. Do you have that as well? A QR code on your window, which for the track and trace app to scan to basically let you know where you go. Now,
everywhere,
you know, I come from a tech background, so I know kind of how easy it is to know where you are anyway without that. It's just you're giving an extra step to the court. Like, I'm hiding nothing. I'm like, I will do it if I have to do it. If it means that for me to take my children out for a pizza, I have to scan an app, fine. But I also don't agree with it, right? And it just seems like something small came along. I've been saying to Ian since before this even happened, this just seems so unbelievably dramatic. And yes, people have died. Very, very sad. No one wants to see anyone pass away from anything, right? We've all lost people.
Yeah.
But you're talking about statistically, you are more likely to be hit by lightning twice than to die of COVID if you're under 40. You know what I mean? Like,
people
crazy.
Die. It's a sad truth, but people die, and it's like it gets to the point where it's like the whole world is going to turn to shit real quick. Like, if this keeps up with it, like, people are losing their minds now. I truly believe it's not COVID that becomes the problem; it's the way people are reacting to it. Everyone's gone mental.
Yeah.
Like, a lady almost got hit by a car trying to keep 2 minutes away from me. I'm like, don't even go out. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, literally, if you're that worried, stay at home. Like, the civil unrest is always the more worrying thing that comes from this sort of stuff. You know, you're dealing with mass unemployment. Then from mass unemployment, you are now dealing with a massive surge in potential homeless people. Now, if 1, 200,000, 300, 1 million people become homeless overnight in a major city like, you know, Montreal or Toronto or London or New York or whatever, you have a real problem on your hands. Really,
they better learn to headbutt.
Yeah, they need to learn to headbutt an elbow immediately.
Yeah, I will say no. It's a bit weird where we're living right now, and
exactly right.
I'm just afraid that the compliance of people, they just see because it's small micro infractions to our liberties and rights over a lapse of time. Like, you know, I'm not saying that it will become a dictatorship, but I'm telling you, without opposition, they're going to keep taking and taking and taking. And like Ian said, back in the days, I don't know, for Canada, it was the imposition, taxing, and the position was, they were building bridges, they were building roads, they were really big, growing the country, and war was happening. So they started, doing imposition. And it stayed. It was justified initially as a temporary measure to pay for all these extra costs. But look at that, it stayed. So very, very afraid to see what's going to happen, because at first, eventually, quarantine was to flatten the curve, and mask it was to stop. Well, right now, guys, there's no fucking deaths. There's like a few of them, and you don't know, and there's no way to see. Like in Canada, there's no death, there's no hospitalization. Same as Slovakia. I was just before going on with you guys, talking with my friend in Slovakia. There's 0 deaths in the hospitals right now in a country of 5 million people, small country. And they're thinking tomorrow, they're holding a press conference thinking of that they might close the borders again amid a second wave. But if you look, there's no deaths, only waves of cases. So
but you test more, you detect more, right? The more you test, the more adequate the testing becomes, the more sophisticated. Of course, you're going to find more people.
People are going to get it after what, like we might have even had it, not even known. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, if people aren't dying, we got to move on. Like, fucking hell.
It's really suspicious, and again, it's looking like there's an agenda somewhere. What is it? I don't know. But the fact that I don't know doesn't mean that there aren't. That's the flawed fallacy that people are engaged in. Oh, what is it? Why they're doing this? You don't know? Well, there you go. There's nothing. No, guys, that's not a right way to scientific reasoning.
Question for the class. I believe it's to get rid of cash. That's what I think. I think it's very hard to get rid of cash. Yeah. I think you produce something that, in the UK, there's like 10 million people that are now being paid by the government. What happens when they now just go, no more? And if you want to get paid by the government, you have to accept your virtual money on your government app, blah, blah, blah.
That's a great hypothesis. There's also, but not only for government, just to be able to track potentially, if there's an audit and I only pay with my credit card, well, you can audit me easily. You can see where I am. So I think so. And actually, I guess I'm going to be part of that agenda, because my restaurant will be cashless. So
I mean, unfortunately, you kind of have to be a part. Like it's.
I've been saying, like, I think the easiest way to control where people are is when it's like that. If someone's outside of their home trying to pay electronically, so you can just switch that off and be like, you can get deliveries but not pay anywhere. It's that's the thing. It's not even conspiracy. It's quite easy to do. And
and my other thought, and before, I think we should switch subject afterwards. My thought is that potentially, we don't know, what happens to a brain of a human once you reach a certain amount of power. For example, like Bill Gates, when you're when you reach that amount of wealth, money is not an issue anymore. And like, again, when you have money, after that you want power. So I'm just speculating here, potentially, that once you reach that level, you want, because there's hundreds of billions of dollars in those vaccines that will result, because everybody's scared, so everybody wants a vaccine. My point is, I think he's not after the money. I think he wants to impose a worldview, potentially on the world, controlling potential. Because again, it's out of our comprehension what happens to a brain when you reach that level that you no longer have to deal with anything else. You just and he did, again, you make 1 + 1. He did make speeches about the world was too
overpopulated.
It's like, it doesn't look good, but I think you're pushing for your worldview here. Anyway.
3 questions. Number 1, do you own or even trust people that wear the level of knitwear that Bill Gates does and sound like Kermit the Frog? Because Daddy doesn't. I don't fuck with people that wear jumpers like that. Number 2.
I'm aware of this.
What happens when Bezos actually becomes Lex Luthor? That's a real problem for all of us. And number 3, how do you feel that Justin Trudeau, your El Presidente, is probably Castro's son? If you look at them together.
Okay, now you're basically doing what people are saying as conspiracy theorists.
I'm just saying, they look a little bit too similar for my liking.
But I'm not aware of all these things. I try to go with the facts of what I see and the. But that's quite funny. I never heard of that.
Right. before we all get ripped off of YouTube and iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else that we potentially try and make our livings from,
It's happening. Censorship is real.
Lethway, the most intense combat sport out there, probably the most intense sport, right? It's wild. It's so fun to watch. It's so unbelievably entertaining. I don't know why it's not. I mean, how can it not be a bigger thing? I don't get it. If you love combat sports,
I think everything is a matter of giving it the appropriate time, right? If you look at 2016, and it's a great question. Basically, before 2016, before I came in, I was one of the few guys that, with my coaches, that knew what Burmese boxing was, because we saw some old, magazine on Black Belt magazine. It was spoken about in the niche community of martial art, but very, very hard to find videos. It was almost inexistent. It was very hard. But before 2016, people didn't even know where Myanmar was because it was sanctioned. Their best days was actually when it was under British rule. It was a colony of Britain. That was the best there. They actually scored better in education and everything than Japan. Like, it was amazing. It was very good. It was speaking English, and the older generation speaks English pretty well. But after that, it was a military junta, so a military dictatorship. And kind of put the entire country in the shadow of the world. Then, because it was military, the America put like embargo and sanction the entire world. So now it was secluded from the entire world. What happened is that, but prior to that, they had very, very strong fighters, very strong martial art. But then the neighboring country, Thailand, they're like, fuck, we don't have any, we don't have a lot of competition now to export our striking sport. So let's just go, because we have the green light, right? We have Myanmar is basically dealing with a lot of conflicts and issue. So let's go. And now I believe, and I know for a fact that it's a coincidence that we would, instead of, if that military junta would not happen, I'm a big believer that we would have the opposite. We would have Leduc gyms around the world, because it's just the most effective and exciting sport, less permissive, and you can still fight an amateur with gloves. So it would still be, everybody would be happy. We would have the opposite, Leduc gyms around the world, and a very few amount of Muay Thai gyms. But to answer your question quickly is that they didn't know where Myanmar was. Do you think they know what the national sports was? Absolutely not. So now it's starting, but it's going exponentially. I open affiliate gyms in Reykjavik, Iceland, and New York, and Texas, in California, and Los Angeles. So now, I'm gonna enroll my affiliate gym soon, and the UK as well. But yeah, it's I think we give it the time, but we cannot expect Leduc to be legalized everywhere around the world. It's already been in 8 countries, right? And the fact is, as long as people can train it, they'll be able to compete on Indian Reserve somewhere, or Slovakia, or Japan, or Myanmar, or anywhere where there's they're more loose on their regulation.
Nice.
Wyoming.
I would suppose that there's like a massive uptick in bare knuckle boxing now. That at least is like the gateway into the next level, which Lethway is probably 2-3 levels above, but it lays the groundwork.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I kind of despise that angle. Why? Because Lethway was already catching fire before BKFC was opening, and because before BKB was opening, so it's kind of unjust, because it's a 2,000-year-old martial art. And and to see, if we look at history in the next 20 years, and we're going to say, Lethway got popular after bare knuckle got, no, same as bare knuckle. When you think about it, it was it's a very generation from generation. I like that. So but I understand what you're saying. I think because I don't know when it was founded. BKB in the UK was founded, but it's a couple of years ago, right? And
I just mean purely from an exposure, like it is for the man off the street, the person off the street, for them to see bare knuckle boxing, get almost desensitized to it.
True.
And then to start to see other.
Well, that's a fair point, but if you look at it, we only have 9 limbs and 2 arms, 2 legs. So after a point, it's hard to get we're going to have to reach a plateau of the sensibilization. And I think Leduc is, because more than that, well, you're going to start slashing throats in the ring. You know, like, so I think that's the epitome of striking, because all your limbs are allowed. So, you know, bare knuckle, yes, you kind of like it, but then after a while you're like, well, it would have been nice to see the knee when he bends his head down. You know, it would have been nice to grab the knee or get the elbow or get the headbutt. So I think the next step is Leduc, but after Leduc, there's no next step. There's nothing else that would reveal or compete with that, history-wise and also technical-wise, because you know, we cannot grow another limb that you can hit with your. So, but and to answer your point, it's a fair point. I guess it's the Western world that are starting to see the rise of bare knuckle boxing in the US and the UK. But like, again, it's not because it's not popular in Asia and you know, in Russia and all these places. So technically, it's just a matter of promotion. It's just a matter of exposure, because well, I don't know if you understand my point.
Yeah, no, I totally do. Absolutely. I totally do.
And also too, it's like I guess for a lot of people that know nothing about it, the first thing they say, oh, it's like Muay Thai with headbutts, and it's like it's so different. Like, just being fortunate enough to do those seminars, but you see the slight and the other thing too, people just think, oh, you just take your gloves off. The amount of difference it makes on the cover, like you said, you leave the smallest gap, you're gonna get fucked up. Defending your head, I never even thought of, like how you said, put your hand on their head, not trying to defend. You're like, oh my god, that is genius, but you'd get fucked up by that when you don't know it. The clinch change, it's just incredible. It's such its own unique. It's incredible. Like, the strike wise, nothing rivals it. So and having a person like you as a spokesperson is amazing, because you what brought it. It really opens it up to everybody, because like you said, it's almost a thing you hear about and you don't really believe it. It's like, what, they can headbutt, bullshit, and then you're like, oh my god, and it's been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. And you know, Ian lived it twice. We did the seminar in the UK, and you know, we actually hold pads together, and it's a very different, you know, technical wise, but also the culture. And you're going to live it when you're going to go to Myanmar with me. You know, the smells, the people there. It's a completely different culture, and it's fun that it's very exciting that we're living it right now, because it only happens once for every martial art, the rise of it, right? So we're living it right now in our lifetime.
Amazing. You know, as a fighting art goes, like, could you, I know you've probably done this on a million podcasts, but how did you get into it? Like, what's your background story for the people listening?
So I come from a good family in Canada, in cold Canada, minus 25, 35 degrees Celsius.
Strong.
So guys, don't complain with your winter. But yeah, it was pretty, you know, good life. But I always was arguing with my family, and eventually I left the house and got into martial art. So I started training to channel my energy, and you know, my coach was like my mentor, and at a young age, he showed me some videos, like I said earlier, about Leduc magazines. I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. And me being a bit defiant of authority, and I think we all are a little bit, I wanted to be different. I wanted to be like a black sheep, be different. Fuck normal. I think life is too short to be normal. Let's do crazy shit. Let's do, live to the fullest. So Leduc felt like it was my calling. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what it is. I started researching it, and I did, like, the last money I had, $100, I paid for privates, training with my coach, started learning how to do headbutts in the clinch. So, like, I had no idea how I'm gonna get it, but I had a goal that one day I'm gonna go fight Leduc in Myanmar. And that, at the time, I was in a small town in near Montreal, right? So it's like very foreign, very hard, and it was just going democratic. Like, it's only until recently that Myanmar opened their borders. So but Thailand was very accessible. So I had some friends that were training at Tiger Muay Thai, and I said, you know what, let's go there. And they were like taking care of Canadians a lot. So I'm like, fuck, it was easy trip. Went there for a month. And I fought after a month, and I won. I'm like, okay, I like fighting, but I was like looking on the other side, like, I want to go next door, neighboring country, Myanmar. Like, that was cool, but like, when can I go fight? Gloves off. And it took a few years, man. It took a few years. I had to pay my dues. I had to show, because the thing is, we need to understand that Myanmar fighting happens every week, every one, but it's like festivals, and they in order to fly foreigners in, because there's no tourism. It's very, very low. There's not a lot of tourism, and in order to fly foreigners to Myanmar to fight their Burmese champions or their Burmese athletes, you have to have a somewhat of a pedigree, or somewhat of an appeal to you. So I didn't at the time. So my way in was when I got into after winning a few fights in Thailand. Again, just passing time. I enjoyed fighting. I liked fighting, but my goal was to go there. So I fought into prison fight. And that was the big cool part. And by the way, guys, I just signed a deal to write a book about it. So we're gonna I'm gonna start with my ghostwriter. We're gonna write it. So because I can't write for shit.
Just tell the stories, and you just say that you just add some salt to this.
Exactly. But I have a good memory. Like he said, my writer said, he said, you remember all the small details, like the rust and the smell. So that's very good stuff for books to put people into. Anyway, so I go to the prison. Very crazy story. We go inside, and then you see all those thousands of heavy criminals, and there was 800 of them in the school, in a yard. I don't want to say schoolyard, but in the yard, right? Like open air. So there was a ring in the middle of the yard, and that war was going to be fighting. There was trees hanging over the ring. So it would be my first time fighting, not in a stadium, but in like a outside venue. Mm-hmm. So we go there, start training. I could talk about it for a long time, but prison fight is sanctioned by the prison department correctional of Thailand, and actually that was the last time they held an event when I fought in 2014. Oh, wow. And your foreigners are invited to fight prisoners that have a good record of fighting. Some of them fought in Lumpini, and they got into like legal troubles, maybe to they wanted to quick buck, and they either made drug transactions, or one good fighter who actually was fighting in Rajamanden, like Muay Thai Stadium, and he stabbed the guy that was talking to his girl, so he got into prison. But he's one of the few that actually got that got his sentence reduced, and it actually got released. So that's the whole thing, is that if you fight a prisoner, foreigners, they don't care about us, but if a prisoner, you're supposed to get paid. So, but the prisoner, as soon as you fight, the more you fight, you can get your sentence reduced and eventually get your freedom. So the name of the event was Fight for Freedom. And literally they were fighting for their freedom, and got into, I stayed in touch with the promoter a couple of years later, 2016, called him because I was like, met my wife Irina, and she's like, Dave, we need to make more money than $200 per fight. That was you make that in the Phuket stadiums in Thailand. So I'm like, I know, babe, I'm trying to get a fight into Leduc, but it's hard. They don't have events. So I called my promoter of Prison Fight. I say, hey, are you still promoting events? He's like, well, I'm not promoting Muay Thai anymore. I promote Leduc. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? That's like, he said, well, I know you're a crazy motherfucker because you said yes right away to Prison Fight. So I have a fight for you if you want.
Wow.
In Myanmar, I'm like, what? Let's go anytime. You didn't even tell me who it was against. I said, let's do it. I don't care. And that's how I got the fight against Tutu in 2016, my first Leduc fight. And he was 36-0. He was undefeated, the 75 kg champ. So basically, I was 75 kg. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just fight like that, no weight cut. And then he said, well, we have to lie on your record because Dave, you only have 10 Muay Thai fights, which are not Leduc fights. Yeah. And he has 30-40 Leduc fights. So like, in order to justify you, we're going to show prison fight. We're going to show this. We're going to show that you're on a winning streak, but still, like, you don't have a lot of experience. And I understand now the mentality is that if I would have, if I would lose, well, their champion would have won against a skilled fighter. And if I beat him up, well, at least he lost against a skilled fighter. So it's just it's an advantage to get a good guy. But at the time, not a lot of guys had the guts to to say yes to these the way they bring us there. It's very raw. It's very raw. It's old hotels, and it was pretty. I like it, but so just long story short, got there, destroyed him, and the rest is history.
Just for the people listening, because that is insane. Your first fight, going a legend of the sport, like that's someone's first box fight going in against, like the absolute king of it. That is amazing, bro.
The thing that I think what's cool about Litway is that you're not put into a box. Like the sport is it's not like, because if you, let's say you take Muay Thai, for example, you have to fight according to their intricate scoring system. And if you don't, check the kicks, if you don't do a lot of kicks or knees or whatever, well, you might lose on points, even though you bloodied his nose with punches, because hands, So Litway is like, we don't care about all this. I fought traditional Litway, which is KO only to win, no scoring system. So if two guys remain standing, it's a draw. And there's a lot of tough guys in the world, and if you have a flexible mind and you're able to to take many things, a bit like my background, Rob asked. Is Jeet Kune Do. So whatever comes, it's basically Sanda. I had a lot of catch kicks, spinning attacks, and my coach, my Sifu, always spoke about in the close quarter. He always said, there's a headbutt here, even though there was nowhere we could actually throw them apart from the street. He did always tell me, there's a headbutt here, and that's we went even as far as talk about fish hooking and grappling, how you can fish hook a guy, to, real fighting and
real shit.
I was always ready for this, and when you're training from 17 to 18 years old, all the way to my first fight in Litway, I think I was I'm not sure 23, 25, I'm not sure, but from 18 to 23, 25, there's a lot of years of planning in your head, and training for that sport. So I've been planning for this, but like Ian said, if you go there, because a lot of fighters go to Myanmar and they have they're highly decorated, Muay Thai, kickboxing, K1, MMA. Name it, they go there, but they have the mentality of I'm going to fight either like a Thai, and I'm going to fight either like a kickboxer, but then the kickboxers, as soon as you close the distance, they don't have any clinch and they get fucked. Muay Thai guys, they can do well to keep the distance after a while, but then once you go in the clinch and you hold the bicep, then you have the headbutt in the middle, fuck them up. It's a bit different. And then again, when if you're a kickboxer, a lot of my friends, that fought Glory even I trained with Nicky Holston, and he said, Dave, if I would fight Litway, I would probably break my hands because, without the cushion on the knuckles and the wrist support, you cannot throw as much volume as you expect in other fights. You have to pace yourself a little bit and go for solid shots that you're not going to break your small bones in your wrist and your. And so it's actually, like Ian said, it changes your mentality. And you have to go there as a free form fighter. You can't go there like I'm a karate guy, I'm a Muay Thai guy. So that's what I think. That's the edge I had, is I'm going there to die. I don't care. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do push kick to the knee, side kick to the knee, oblique kick. If at the time I was not an expert in headbutts, I never throw them in a real fight apart from the streets. So I started. I was saying I'm gonna hold. If he goes in a clinch, I don't want to let him do headbutts. I'm gonna either put my hand or just hold it tight. Over time, I gained confidence for this, but actually. I rectified that. I was the first one to throw the headbutt in that fight. But, we were in the clinch, and I threw a small one.
Yeah.
And I think it pissed him off. And after that, he started doing side headbutt. But still, it was my first one. So I was still, understanding this whole culture, the music, the whole what's happening, right? So, but it's a different mentality completely. But if you go there with I'm willing to in survival mode, basically. That's my mentality. When I go fight, I'm going there to survival mode. The guy wants to take away my status, my income, my honor. He wants to humiliate me. He wants to make fun of me. He wants to hurt me, and he wants to lacerate me. He wants to knock me out, give me a concussion. So if that doesn't piss you off, well, we're not in the right sport.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was your second fight with Tutu. He's a savage. I love it.
I love it.
He's an animal, isn't he?
He has the best shirt in the business right now.
There you go. There you
Guys,
go.
look at that.
Make sure you get your own.
Yeah, you fill it up well too, man. It's good.
Yeah, he's been lifting a lot. Bless him. Look at him. He's so happy to have you on
bro.
Yeah, he was telling me about the camp that he was going to be attending. Like it, I almost had to give him a hug. Like he was so down that it's been delayed for a little while. Yeah,
it's just rescheduled, but definitely this is going to be a crazy good time. I don't know if he showed you pictures of where we're going to go in Napoli Beach, Myanmar, but it's beautiful and it's untouched, right? There's, like I said, not a lot of tourism, and that's the cool part of, like, now that Myanmar is open, we have access to these like untouched gems all across the country. And it's only an hour flight from Bangkok, right? So there's no excuse, people, that let's go, go visit this beautiful place. And it's exciting. It's exciting. And they're such a good-hearted people, so humble and so kind. Like, I want to, like, they don't even ask for it, but I just want, like, it's like a gift. I want them to shine worldwide. They deserve it. There's such a nice culture. And that's, in a way, brings me up to the other part, Rob, that, like, why I liked Litway so much, even more when I actually lived it. Because I liked it prior, right? I liked it because I was thinking about it from when I started martial art in Canada, all the way to when I was in Thailand, and all the way to when I actually stepped foot in Myanmar. But I really fell in love even more when I noticed that they were like me. And by me, what I mean is that in Canada, I'm a bit of a black sheep, because not a lot of, we come from the lumberjack style. We had very hard people that had to survive big winters in the New France, it was called. But it kind of left us, not a lot of people train martial art anymore. A lot of the new generation are kind of weaker, not very good. But I'm a big believer, like, I want to be kind outside of the ring. I hope I am. Ian can tell you if I'm not. But I think the optimal way to be as a man is to be, as kind as we can, as outside of the ring and in real life, I mean. And then if you do compete, and if you do have to protect yourself in a life or death scenario or a fight, well, you don't fuck around, and it's you or him. So in Myanmar, they're very kind. Even the fighters, especially the fighters, actually, they're extremely humble and extremely polite and kind, and they barely look in your eyes sometimes, the younger. But they go in the ring, and you would swear that it's not the same fighters, because they're like brutal and extremely aggressive. But then after the ring, they shake your hand and they bow down, and they're like, but I feel like it's like an escape. It's like an outlet. And I'm like, wow, I relate more to Burmese culture than I relate to Canadian culture, and I relate more to them because they're so kind, but so aggressive. And that's what I view myself as well. So I like that.
Yeah, it's such a good mix too. Yeah. Like, that's what makes you such a good spokesman for the art, because, sometimes if it's like a foreigner comes and they don't take on the traditions, they just go and try and do the thing. It's amazing. Like, I remember in the fight when he did, they love that, and it's cool that even when you were talking about the Burmese, how they're people from Myanmar, how they very humble. Same thing with the tattoos, how they're hidden away on the legs. You wouldn't know, and then they roll up the legs and
roll up the legs, and now you're like, oh shit, now I'm in trouble.
Did you see the it's called the Toquin tattoo? Did you see some?
Yes, I've seen them. I've studied you extensively, my friend.
What like Ian said, like, I saw a quote, and it was translated in Burmese, and I think I'm going to start popularizing it. It's, every like, I think it's, everything's good until the Litway fighter rolls up their longi, their skirt. Everybody's badass until the guy roll up their it's called a longi. It's
like the short pant.
It's like a skirt, like a sarong or it's popular in India as well. And and actually, if you look at it in a lot of cultures, if you have the kilt, you have in New Zealand, they have another form of like this. In India and Myanmar,
you got to let the quads breathe, right? You got to let them breathe.
Let the boys out.
Yeah, let them out. With the tattoos themselves, is it a set art? Did you get chunks of it done to represent fight 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.? Is it something like the grading?
Very good question. So it's a art that was in the decline, and
Yeah.
now it all makes sense because I told you about the dictatorship and the close of the country.
Mm-hmm.
During these times, it was a bit like USSR, close to the world, right? But then once USSR closed, what happened? The Russians wanted to be like Coca-Cola and American and Chanel and whatever. But same as Myanmar now, they're like, okay, now we can actually taste the world. Well, they're looking at Americans and Europe and Britain. So their first step is not to get traditional tattoo. They want to go beyond their culture, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny that a foreigner, that's what I was told by a lot of my friends in Myanmar. It's like a foreigner brought back the willingness to get the traditional tattoos, and because if you look at this, back in the days, the Burmese fighters, like 95% of them had the toquin. The toquin it's called the leg tattoos, and it's from knees up all the way to the butt cheeks or the thighs, and it's extremely painful because you do it in a short amount of time as possible, behind the knee, on the meniscus. It's pretty painful in between the in the inner thighs. I mean, it's all tolerable, but the trick here is that. A bit like the Burmese army was extremely powerful back then, the Burmese Empire, and I'm very passionate about history like this. Let me go back a little bit for a second, and before going to that, if you look at the Burmese Empire back in the days in Southeast Asia, was extremely powerful, and I spoke about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. It looks like they planted their seed because they destroyed the Siam capital of Ayutthaya in the old capital of Thailand, used to be Ayutthaya, and they looted it, they destroyed it all, they burned. They were not the kindest, I guess, at the time. But they meant business. They were in a war with them, and after they were they owned a part of Chiang Mai, they owned a lot of part of that, and after that they the sport like Muay Boran, which is the ancestor of Muay Thai, started to appear. So Muay Boran is like a copycat of Litway, but not practiced anymore today. And a few hundreds of years ago, I think I don't want to say wrong numbers, but like 300 years, 400 years ago, Muay Thai appeared. It was a change from Muay Boran to Muay Thai. But if you look at the lineage, it can be traced back to Myanmar. But that being said, I was talking about the tattoos, right? The history with like 95% of people were getting those tattoos to show their experience. And I actually have a brain fart here. I'm not sure why I talked about the Burmese Empire, but the Burmese Empire. It was
Ayutthaya getting burnt down, and then was it
basically
more,
I think you're right. Yeah, it was talking about like the idea of how they were showing their war battles. Oh yes, I remember when you're getting the tattoo. When you were wanted to join the army that was extremely dominant and extremely strong, you were putting your thumb like this, and I read stories that they would put a nail in between your nail and your skin, right? Like a nail and a hammer, and they would smash it down, and you would not. The goal was to not show pain while you're putting the nail in between your thumbnail, right? So it was extremely disgusting and bloody and annoying. But basically, that's how they were selecting, the higher elite in the army. Like, don't show pain. Show me that your brain is different from your pain tolerance. Anyway, so that translated to how they do the tattoos. Now I remember when you're getting the symbols on your body. They don't want you to show too much pain. They want you to accept it and basically to be worthy and you're deemed to be a good warrior if you don't show pain and you take it without screaming and without and the goal here is to inflict as much pain as possible. So when you're doing the tattoo, they're not trying to be careful. The goal is to they're kind of pushing.
Is it tap or is it with a machine?
So I'm the ambassador for Canal Plus. Canal Plus is a French channel.
French channel, yeah.
And they actually they opened Canal Plus Myanmar, and they took me as the ambassador of the channel, which makes sense.
Makes sense.
And what's it's quite of a coincidence they open in Myanmar. Who would have thought, right? But so that being said, I went to a foreign region in Myanmar and I interviewed a 7-year-old tattoo artist that was doing the Toquin for many years, and he was actually a gym owner, and he was tattooing all his pupils back in the days. So I actually met all his pupils. They came in while I was talking to him. They came, all of the, like, there were 7 remaining. They're all in their upper 40s, and they lift up all their laundry, and all of them had the Toquin. That was very, very cool moment to see that. And all different symbols, because different regions have different, some are squares, some are circles, very different patterns. But he told me that he's like, I started doing it with machine, and he's upper 70s, he's the mid 70s, and he's like, the goal with the needle, it was, they were not hurting too much, right? I have my full back with the bamboo, and I have my leg traditional Leduc style, and he said, Dave, when I was doing the bamboo, they were not in pain, and the next day they were able to go swim, and there was no scabbing, there was no blood, like I got my back with the bamboo, same thing. It was not very painful, and but when I did in Myanmar, what they do is they have like this artisanal, he showed me this artisanal machine. It was with magnets, and it pushes that needle fast. Like, it was before the machines were invented. And he said, I started using that artisanal machine, and my pupils were hurting a lot because I was pushing it. So, and I liked what he said, because when I did some tattoos, Cambodian tattoos, they were saying, oh, those tattoos are like magical, and they stop the bullets potentially. That was in Thailand, right? But in Myanmar, I like that he was very open, down to earth, and he said that it doesn't fucking stop bullets. Who are you fooling? That's bullshit. He was very honest, and I like that about him. He's like, what a Toquin is. It's a rite of passage from boyhood to manhood. It's to show that you're scarring your body to show that you're ready for manhood, and it's a way to intimidate your opponent in a way, because you have ring experience. You don't do that as your first lightweight fight, So right. If you have that, so it's very logical. And so to answer your question, it was done like with a like artisanal machine, but it was painful, man. It was so they don't care about the whole poetry behind it. It's very raw, like the sport. I just want to hurt you.
That paint on. I remember you saying when they spar, they put the cayenne peppers in their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Why? But just for pain management.
It's like the blood, isn't it?
Simulate, like Ian said, simulate the blood leaking in your eye, or the sweat leaking in your eye after the 4th round. So you're
makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. Have you ever seen someone, just like when you're in Cyprus, when you're in Dubai, when you're in anywhere that's a beach area, have you ever seen anyone with the Toquin that doesn't know who you are, and they've just got it because they thought it was cool and they had it on their travels?
No, the Toquin is a commitment. It takes 24 hours to do, so you don't do.
Okay.
You can't.
You never know though.
Yeah.
When everyone, I mean, I've got a full, 3/4 sleeve of Japanese. Like, I've never been to Japan.
It's happening right now, and I looked. For fun, I went on the hashtag Toquin, and I saw that there's some foreigners that live in Myanmar that got he's definitely not a fighter. He looks like a computer analyst, but he has the Toquin, and good for them. It's.
Did you DM them?
No, I don't.
DM them just a shot like this, and just said, and one of these a video, and then it just
Actually, it makes me happy that the culture is growing, but it's obviously. Back in the days, if you would do that and you would not be a fighter, you probably would get like stoned. Like, what the fuck you do, But I guess it's part of the growing of the culture, and I'm happy because it means that people are knowing it even more. And if you look in 2016, I took a screenshot of it's funny to see the correlation between a very old martial art and with the relationship it has with technology, right? If you look at Myanmar, when I started, I took the hashtag Leduc, I believe there was less than 100 hashtag Leduc. Okay.
Really?
And we'll check right now. I checked yesterday. It was I took a screenshot. I have it somewhere, but let's see. So if you look at tags, let weigh. See now 26,000.5. So 26,000 post with Leduc, and that's only in a few years. When I started, it was nothing. So it's interesting to see this evolution. It's booming, and it's very, very exciting.
Your getaway camp's the one that Ian's is on. Do you have to have previous experience, or like could I? Because I'm liking the sound of this because
absolutely not. There's women that are they're coming and they're from Canada here, and they actually they're actually going to be part of it. There's going they don't have it's for all. I'm going to separate my team of trainers. We're going to separate everybody in different groups, but
Streaks, we're going to talk. We're going to talk. How long you got? How long is it for? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
For a week, yeah. But we'll talk. We'll give. It's sold out, but we'll talk. We'll.
I mean, I know someone now.
Yeah.
Who's my new internet best friend? I might have some sway.
We got you. Not definitely, because I don't want to, talk too much because it's give false hope to other people. Because we're not open. It's fully booked.
I will say this: I'm a pretty good pad holder.
Okay.
I do have some skills. Yeah.
Can I ask one thing? Because for people listening, if they don't know, I'll let you explain. Obviously, with the knockdowns and the recovery period. Yes. But can I just ask, what's the timeout? Because I saw in the Cyrus Washington fight, he took it. And I wanted to ask you as well. I remember you said, and I couldn't remember what happened. Tun Tun Min, I think it's the third fight with his leg. Both of them took the timeout. Is that the same amount of time you get? Can you take that anytime?
That's a great question. So it's called injury timeout, or in Myanmar they call it a special rest. That comes from the ancestor time. It was like grudge matches. If somebody would get like a mistake, get knocked out, get injured, get cut, they would give them a special chance to go back at it when there was a lot of like honor and a lot of gamble involved. So it was like for that comes from the grudge matches and the sandpit days, but now it continued. And traditional Leduc, it's a 2-minute timeout that can be used from first to fourth round, not in the fifth round, because the fifth round is like the decisive one. You cannot be saved in the last round, basically. So 1 to 4, you can use your 2-minute timeout, and it's again, I never had to use it. I don't plan on using it. My opponents used it. I think it's extremely, it's hard to see because you know what it can do to the brain. So there's like the league, like the WLC, which I'm signed with, which is they removed that injury timeout, which is good because you want to build a career out of it. So guys, because technically, when my last fight against Tun Tun Min, I knocked him out in the first round. First was with a headbutt. Got up after the 8 count.
Heavy too.
Yeah, he's tough motherfucker. But I knocked him out with an elbow, a big jumping elbow right on the temple. He fell down like a dead body, and he was out for about
hands up
5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
He was
literally out. Just stretched.
But the problem is, that was one knockout, and he got the 2-minute back up, and they know how to recover their guys. They know how to revive their guys, and he kind of survived until the end, and it ended as a draw. So it sucks because it's already hard enough to do a knockout, because a lot of fights, even in the UFC, even in other promotions, it's even championship fights. Sometimes there's no knockout. It's a decision, split decision. So imagine if you tell, okay, now you're going to go fight the Burmese guys, which is one of the strongest jaws in the world. Pain threshold is off the fucking roof. And not only you need to knock them out, which is already hard on itself, but you need to knock him out twice. Like what the fuck is that? It's like not just once, knock him out twice.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. So for me, it's a win, and it is a win because in Leduc, if you're the champion and you don't get stopped by your challenger, well, your title defense is successful. So if you're a challenger, you want to, you win the belt. And traditional Leduc, you have to stop the champion either by forfeit, either by knockout, TKO, massive bleeding, but you have to stop the champion. Otherwise, I like that. I like that. It would be cool if it would be like that in MMA as well. If you want to win, it has to be decisive. You can't win on split decision. You have to either submit your guy or knock him out. And you give sanctions.
Get rid of a lot of these shitty decisions.
Yep, and you give sanctions to passivity. Like if the champion has become passive and he's running away, well, give him a sanction and give him a, you know. But I love that aspect of Litway, that there's no luck. You either you stop it or you don't, you know. And but I am a bit sour about a few of my draws because
they're not draws.
Yeah. Bloody, there were the domination, and but it's part of the game, and it's the beauty of the culture as well.
I have a bit of a niche question, right? So I understand, like, you can knock them out cold. They have 2 minutes to be revived, and the corner will rub, throw water, chew ears, etc. Okay. My question. This is said with no. This is a legit question. I can't stress that enough. Okay. In boxing, you have the guys that are specialized in wrapping hands. There's a guy that's a specialist cut man, and people will seek that person out. Yeah. Is there such a thing as an ear chewer? Is there like a number one ear chewer? Like, I've got to have him in my corner, otherwise it's not going to work for me.
Yeah, great question. I think to answer shortly, no. There's the thing is, wrapping hands and cut. There's actual skills involved. It's extremely, you know, it's hard to do according to, you know, sanction standards and everything. But if you're the coach and your guy gets knocked out, well, you don't need a lot of skills to either slap his face or put ice in his boxers or bite his ear like my grandma can do it. So
I was just hoping you was going to say yes, and he's got like failed teeth and like he just lives that. That's what he's been put on this planet to do, is to chew people back into consciousness.
That's the first time I get asked this question. That's a good
one.
It's a wild sport.
Sorry, I was going to ask, Dave, can you talk about, I'm not sure if it's signed in public, things like that, but you do have a fight coming up. Is that correct?
So that's a great question. Basically, I'm under contract with the WLC. I'm exclusive with them. And if it wasn't for the travel restrictions of Myanmar, like we spoke about, that canceled our retreat and all these things, I would be able to go fight. And they're actually holding an event tomorrow. And today for Myanmar time, they're holding one in like undisclosed studio with no crowds. They're holding it, but they can't fly me and my opponents from all around the world. And so legally, I was excused during this pandemic. I was excused to force majeure, basically. Like, I'm able to go fight while being under contract with.
Amazing.
So I have
That's a fight. Really good at them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's it's the law regardless. So that they want it or not, it's happening. And but it's and you know, I want to fight. So what's happening is that there's only a certain place in the world that allows Litway, and among the 8 countries in the world, I think there was, like, obviously Myanmar, Thailand, Singapore, Slovakia, Taiwan, Japan, and the United States. And all the other ones in Asia, even Slovakia is hard right now. So my team looked at the United States, and we're under negotiation right now. It's pretty exciting, but it might be in the United States. Yeah.
That's going to be one of them wild cowboy states, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's not in New York. That's
in New York. Yes.
No, it's not in New York. Is it potentially one of the states that is about 4,000 degrees in the summer and about minus 400 in the winter? One of those ones.
Which one is that?
Is it like the northeast sort of area?
I'm not good with this part, but I actually I have an idea that I think it's going to be in Wyoming.
Yeah, just like cowboy country.
Yeah, I can't wait to tell you who is it going to be against. We have to wait until it's signed.
Yeah, of course.
It would be it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a good one, and it's going to be my first fight on American soil. It's pretty fucking exciting. And the good news is it's going to be live on pay-per-view. So
Really?
Gonna be, and it's gonna be extremely cheap. It's gonna be $25. So I think it's like £10 for you guys, I think. But
Is it carried here? Can we get it here?
oh yeah, it's gonna be on the internet. Yeah, it's gonna be super easy accessible. So that's the only reason why it makes sense.
What's the date?
Financially.
We'll put this in the diary now. I think we'll have to have a little episode about it.
Yeah, and yeah, we can once
Yeah.
once we have confirmation, we can run it back and
Beautiful.
because yeah, it's going to be a lot of promotion behind it, a lot of talk behind it, because yeah, this is history in the making, because we never fought in the US. Yeah,
amazing. So
I like the excitement.
Savage restaurateur. Are we building the property portfolio as well?
Which one?
The property portfolios, like you.
Yeah, that, to be honest, restaurateur is I don't want to own. I want to own the corporation. I don't want to own any restaurant. So the goal is to franchise around the world. And
beautiful.
I already have people in like Dubai. It's very extremely vegan friendly because there's no pork. A lot of vegan options in Dubai. United Arab Emirates, Prague, actually, believe it or not, one of the most vegan state a city actually in the world. Austin, Texas.
Austin's super liberal now. Austin's like Austin
is extremely advanced in their way of thinking, and actually that's why I have my affiliate school in Austin, Texas. We have a South Austin gym. We have a Leduc affiliate gym, so it's pretty cool. I did 2 seminars there, and very cool place to be. It doesn't feel like Texas with the big grills and bullshit, so it's pretty cool. But yeah. Why was I talking about this? We're opening around the world, and and the property wise, well, to be honest, guys, I don't talk about it a lot, but my goal right now is to go hide in Cyprus.
Not a bad place to hide, dude.
Yeah, it's a very cool island. 1 million people in the country, speaks Russian. My wife is Russian, and I like that. But it's Greek at the base. It used to be owned by Greece, but why there is because it's like perfect weather all the time, almost no winter, and I want to have like I already have a property there, but now we want to buy like a lot of acres to have like a self-sustainable, have solar panels, a big greenhouse, and basically live there and just leave whenever I need to do a seminar.
King David, are you trying to start a cult? Because I'm in.
The cult's already started. Ian has a third of the cult already.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Little bit of Cypriot history for you, right? You probably didn't know this. Okay. My people, the East End and the Essex lot, there was a particular type of music called garage, as it were. And Ayia Napa became the spot for garage. Okay. And I believe that they just had to deal with wave after wave after wave of East End, South London and Essex boys in their fresh white shoes until it all shut down. I don't know what's going on in Ayia Napa now, but I'm pretty sure we sucked it dry and then we've moved on.
That's crazy.
It's a shame.
I've never been to Ayia Napa yet, but it's told like it's the party place.
Yeah.
It's the place to go, and the place I avoid basically.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
very much so. Rented scooters and bad decisions is what it is.
Exactly. There's it used to be they have a British they have a military base there. It's pretty that's
where Michael Bisping was, wasn't it?
Pardon me?
I think Michael Bisping spent a lot of time.
Potentially,
yeah.
The cool thing about Cyprus is actually you can actually ski in the morning in the mountain, and you can go swim in the oceans in the afternoon in the same day. So you can ski in the snow and then go in the hot water. It's pretty cool.
What more can you ask for, man? That's it. We're there.
Yeah, exactly. But the goal, I guess we can call it a cult of free-minded and basically not being told that I need to wear a mask if I want to go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. Respect that big. You love it, don't you? When did that pop up though? When did it? Was it just literally like your an individual abstract thinker?
Yeah.
I don't really want to be told to wear a mask. I don't want to be, it's basically, is it about risk reward for you? Because obviously you're.
You mean the mask? Oh no,
just in general, like, because you are clearly you have an appetite for risk that most people don't, right?
Yeah, and I think that that they're lacking that, and I think that's the reason why their marriage are failing. I think there's the reason why their health is failing. I think there's a reason because they're playing safe. And what's the goal of playing it safe in life? You might as well die right now. Like, might as well.
Yeah.
I like a goal. People die at 25, but they only get buried at 75. You know, and so it's like what, and I that's why I don't want to live a life of fear, because to be honest, guys, I'm super transparent with you guys. I actually spoke with my wife years ago before becoming actual champion. Before becoming champion, I had a lot of existential questions. Thank you. And I actually said to my wife, like, should we kill ourselves?
Fair.
And I think it's a very healthy discussion to have.
Yeah,
like,
it's the futility of it, right? You just kind of thinking like, what are we doing? Is it doing anything? And if it's not, what's the point?
Yeah, and we decided, you know what, like, there's a lot of things to be enjoyed, like the traveling, food, sensory pleasures, sensuality, all these nice things, and we're like, we're gonna live it together and we're gonna enjoy it. And otherwise, like, I don't really, because from what we know, we don't know what's going to happen once we die. Yeah. Like, there's no proof. Somebody claims there's something. He's full of fucking shit. He's alive, and he has an agenda, and he's making money with conferences, or but nobody fucking knows. Therefore, basing on that evidence or lack of evidence, well, we die and we die. That's it. So technically, whatever we're doing right now, Wikipedia, fights, belts, it doesn't mean fuck all. Because once we die, or once in a couple of millions of years, the sun is going to eat the earth. If we didn't leave, everything is dead anyway, right? So my point is, it is, I guess I'm an optimistic nihilicist, I believe. Basically, like, I think life is beautiful, but I think it's meaningless. And like, you find the meaning that you want to, but like, I found my meaning is to take care of people and animals, and I want to be kind as much as I can. But still, at the end of the day, it's a blimp on the universe, what they've done. You know what I mean? So my point is, we had that discussion and we decided to continue. And yeah, I guess you're right. I'm a bit rogue, and I think people should be rogue, question the government, question this, question what we eat. But the thing is, the capitalistic society wouldn't very much work if everybody would think like this. So either we can influence, the workout mafia, Dave and you, and we can all influence people to be like best version of themselves. But ultimately, most people will not join these things, will not join these cases. Most people will be extremely happy with what the government tells them. Most people will be will do what they're told. And again, we cannot. They're not bad people for that. No. It's just lack of. It's just. I guess I always question authority, because again, humans make mistakes, and it's not on purpose or not. Why should I listen to anybody? Again, to make it short, I look at data. So I believe that, if we were sick, you stay home, you wash your hands, and you stay home. But don't stop the entire world economy. Don't. You're sick. You feel like you have symptoms. Stay home. Because they lied to us on saying that wearing a mask and social distancing is the polite thing to do. No, the polite thing to do is stay the fuck home if you're sick. And if you're not sick. And even the World Health Organization, that I don't respect, even said that if you have no symptoms, it's very unlikely that you will spread diseases. So asymptomatic people, why the fuck do we have to wear a mask? I will wear a mask if I have symptoms, or actually, if somebody has symptoms in a very deadly pandemic, which is not the case, I believe. If you have symptoms and you're not home, well, I will kick your ass myself.
So I wanted to ask you about that. That Egyptian kickboxing teacher, talk to me. That dude was out of control, right? Did you DM him and just say Dave says no?
Well, we know that DM wouldn't work, so actually I got contacts in Egypt, because Ian, by the way, we have somebody that wants to do a Leduc affiliate gym in Egypt, believe it or not. So that could be cool. But I messaged them, and they said that he got sanctioned, and he got the best we can do, without causing bodily harm, which I wish I could. He got fired from the gym and all these things, and but it's sad to see. And again, that's not an isolated thing. That happens a lot in many maybe less developed country. You know,
It's disgusting.
it's sad. It's sad. It's, you know, they're forging the kids are forging their identity. They're forging their understanding life, and they get beat up like this. But that's in a gym, you know, and it happens. It's at home sometimes. Parents do that to their kids. So it's a very, again, without being too nihilistic, we have to look at the bright side of things. There's a lot of good happening in the world. There's a lot of, well, the good news is that the pandemic is over. Fuck me. Let's fucking say it as it is. It is over. But no, that's not what's happening right now. Anyway, I'm a bit rebellious of this, and you know, if I disappear, you guys know why. So.
No, but like
we're coming to Cyprus to look for you, bro.
Yeah, we'll come straight to Cyprus. But like from like on a much lesser level, for me, like I've always shared a very similar outlook. Like I spent simply too long in a career that I hated. The only time I was ever happy was when I was training and boxing, and then I had my first daughter.
Okay.
And it was very much so like I had pictures of her all over my desk, and it was just like, I can't have her see daddy come into this office every day just to pay the bills, because what example does that do? And I left that job, and I haven't looked back since. You have to roll the dice, and you have to do that, right?
Well, that takes a lot of guts. That takes a lot of
I mean, you can always go back, right? You can always go back to that shit job.
It's easy, yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy, and they're very, very welcoming because they always want you to come back. When you're not going back, that's when they don't like you. But yeah, exactly. Like, but the main point is, like, you know, for me personally, like having a couple of kids really, really took that feeling of like nihilism and just changed it. Right, it become the reason for me. Like yeah. But everyone's different, you know?
Yeah. So you said that that helped you see the world in a better view, you say?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
In a bit of it's more terrifying. Like, and especially with that Egyptian dude, like I want my girls to have some level of proficiency in martial art, because I think it's a great thing for all people to have.
Absolutely.
The long and short of it is, if I walk into the gym, the dojo, whatever, and there's a guy or an instructor of some sort doing anything,
to any child,
if 1% of any child, I'm going to be doing the flying headbutt that you taught me.
To be fair, yeah, exactly. If I would have been there, probably would have happened differently. But being remote, it's I'm not going to send a shooter there, but I thought about it.
But just think, like, how many times did he get away with that without someone filming it, right?
Yeah,
motherfucker.
And again, those are the weaker men. Those are the men that are patching their emotional traumas. They're patching their wife not having sex with them. They're patching a bunch of unhappiness. And instead of feeling, I guess I'm trying to be rational here, and instead of feeling the hate that I feel, I'm trying to feel pity towards the man. And like, instead of, we should. It's hard, but we should, try to help people. Yeah. But honestly, it's hard on the language barrier. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed. But those are the weaker men. They're the men that hit the weaker people. It's very sad. Yeah.
Hurting children is, in any capacity, for me, is an immediate no country for old men, bovine. You're out the gene pool now. Now, Absolutely. When you're hurting children, but you're in an authoritarian position as an instructor, as a coach, as a teacher, that puts you a little bit lower for me, because you've got a part of responsibility to take care of these kids and to teach them, and you are taking the piss. You got to go. Yeah. Anyway.
I've seen Canada guys as well. Like I heard about coaches sparring with their younger teenager, and actually kind of go hard on them. I'm like, what are you trying to prove? And I feel that when they're unhappy with their career, when they're unhappy maybe that they didn't get the chance to reach high levels in fighting, and they didn't get, so they have something to prove. They didn't prove it in their career, so now they have to prove it in the gym, and they're just bullying the shit out of these students, and that's sad. That's actually, when I look at these videos, it looks like a lack of it's insecurity. It is complete insecurity that you don't feel adequate, and I feel pity for these guys.
We were talking about, like, you before the show. We're like, you're the nicest guy, absolute savage in the ring, but the nice guy, because and we were saying like when you can do it, you don't need to walk around like.
Well said. Like you should have, if like Robin, you guys said, if you would, everybody would train martial art, there will be less road rage. There would be less, violence, conjugal violence. There would be, because guys would get this outlet out, and they would feel, you know what, I feel confident enough. I don't need to beat up my wife. I don't need to beat up on a stranger because he cut me off. Like, it's just bullshit. You don't see that a lot in good martial artists. Like obviously there's some exceptions that beat up guys in the pub or older men in the pub, or it's just like
these things happen.
Yeah. By the way, that's the same book. What we saw with Connor doing this.
Yeah.
The same thing as I see with you don't do that to weaker guys.
But it's about that on the come up, right? When you've been part of. I mean, I started personally with judo, then various other little ones, and then I've been boxing for 16, 17 years now. Irrelevant of the martial art, when you get a beating, when you get dominated by someone, because they're just so many, it's not even about them dominating you, the level that you're operating at versus their level, it's a very humbling thing. It gives you just that thing, like in a supermarket, someone pisses you off, you're just like, is it worth it? No, it's not worth it. It's just not for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I like what you said as well, I think that humbleness is also good as a martial artist, as a fighter, because, even my coach still teaches me stuff that, I like that angle. I didn't think about that opening there. So that's very good. This motivates me to become, always improve and always learn, because somebody that claims that he knows everything is a liar. And
exactly.
We're never stopping. So I like to be, to learn new things, it's never ending. And yeah.
The day you stop learning is the day that pretty much you maybe go to the next life, whatever that may be.
Yeah, if there is one.
If there is one. I always like the light that people see when they're going into the tunnel is actually the light as you come out of the birth canal. I think that's quite sweet. Very nice.
We're shooting, and again, we're not going to go into religion, all these things, but it's a concept. I believe it's a concept that's been man-made to soothe people, because it is extremely scary to not the unknown, right? Humans, a human brain wants to always have answers. What does that do? That answers, but we don't know that, so it's extremely scary. And we invent a bunch of and we write books on a bunch of ludicrous things to make us feel, you know what? Maybe because how do you explain to your let's say, Rob, you have your daughter and somebody, the dog died. How do you tell? Dies. The concept of death is extremely hard to explain.
Incredibly hard.
He ceased existing. He's rotting in the ground. Like, oh shit, that's a bit hard. No, honey, he's dead. He's not living anymore. Oh shit. No,
I didn't bury him. I just threw him over the wall for next door. That's their problem now.
Yeah,
but it's the same thing going back to the government. It's like people, they fear the unknown, so they want to listen to someone. So then it gets written in a book or a law, and then everybody listens to shit. They don't know. It puts people's minds at ease. So
absolutely.
It's trust, right? So that there should be a level of earned trust with anything, but then there's a
not the government. The government has not earned their trust in history. So that's a concept that's find it funny, and we're joining back and forth from martial art to politics, but I find it funny that prior to the pandemic, if you would do a poll, most people it doesn't matter where the country is, in Canada, UK, whatever, England, everybody was unhappy with their government, right? And if you look now, they're all like, yeah, we trust the government. It makes sense. They're so good. It's like, what happened? Like, what happened? Where does that earned trust come from?
Yeah.
And it's asinine to me. It doesn't make sense.
Bizarre. Do you have anything more, dear sir? Because I don't want to keep you for too much more.
Time.
Yeah.
It's what we're living right now in the like sports, and I said that in my stories and my Instagram stories, like yours truly is going to entertain you through these difficult times. And
sure.
at the end of the day, martial arts is fun, and it's my passion. I would do it for free, to be honest. And I told my wife, and I said, like, I would actually
kind of were at one point.
I was, and I actually paid fight at one point. But now that I have other endorsements, other ventures, and I get compensated well, I'm like, I actually would do it for free. That's when you truly know you love someone, love something. Sorry, you love something. You like. I would actually do it for free. It's that's what I was to say. I want to say, like, when we really love something, we I actually forgot what I was gonna say. Now you're gonna say, the haters are gonna say, oh, that's concussion. I never fucking have a concussion in my life, and I'm extremely evasive. So fuck you if you say that.
Have that.
My brain, I'm a very fast-paced guy, so my brain goes 100 miles
Let's
an hour.
see them do it in another language. You know what I mean? Let's see them talk like this for an hour straight in the second language.
I'm thinking about I'm thinking about my logo for my restaurant. I'm thinking about the rental property. I'm thinking about the fucking everything at the same time. But I wanted to say, we spoke about the stories. I said I was entertained. Yeah, yes, basically that I identify myself. Yes, I love martial art. I love being, fighting, and the same thing. It happens to entertain people, but Dave itself, like, third person. Dave, my identity is I like to study law. I like to do a lot of like research on health and nutrition, but it's fighting is just one part of it. And it's, to be honest, you saw it during the pandemic, and you still see it right now. Yeah. It's like, it's not an essential service, right? It's like everything gets open, and like sports, we don't give a fuck. It's the last one to open. So it's extremely fun when it's happening, and I'm gonna do it as long as I can. But there's a lot of stuff happening in the world that is extremely dire and extremely more important. But I cannot say that I'm not not overwhelmed, but I'm not consumed in my next bout. I'm not I cannot, I would be lying to say I would, even though I know that there's a lot of important things in the world, like our rights being taken away and the vaccine, but I am consumed on my next opponent, and I am consumed on my fighting and my techniques. And small as it looks like, as long, Rob and Ian, you guys know, you've been martial artists, as small as it looks when you're in the gym and you look at one little choke or one little technique that I'm learning, on the big scheme of things, it looks super small and insignificant, but it feels good and it feels right at the time. And actually, that's what matters. Exactly. That's what matters to us as humans. And we're part of that journey to becoming optimal beings as much as we can, as we possibly can. And again, that's, cause as less harm as we possibly can. Yeah. That's but it's interesting that martial art brought me here. Mm-hmm.
Could you see yourself bringing taking up the mantle for Lethwei as the sport and really, like, maybe even becoming the league, the promoter, the Dana White of Lethwei? Could you see yourself doing that? Could you see yourself, because of the love of the art?
I thought you were going to say, do you see yourself running for office? Yes, I do.
I'd vote.
Thank you, Rob.
I'm in. But my rule is, right, if they're in the room together at the G7, G8, it's really only Putin that's actually going to walk away from that if it's a battle to the death, isn't it?
Yeah, right?
He's the only one.
In Uganda, they actually have massive brawl, and they fucking throw chairs and shit.
Yeah.
But
shit gets wild.
Like we spoke about, the reason why I wanted to live and not cease living is because I want to experience all the pleasures of life, and I don't think my time would be well used in an office and all that stress. Like, I don't want to live that, but I know I would do a great job. But anyway, yes, I think it's in the plan. One day we actually spoke about it with WLC, that some kind of have a contender series style, nice. But it doesn't make sense while I'm still competing. Like, it would make sense when I'm retired to have like the, Dave's contender series or the up and coming Lethwei fighter. I actually spoke with Bas Rutten, Bas.
Yes. I like to tell people that he's my birth father. Ian knows this. He's not, obviously, let's be honest. But he has RR on his hands. No, he's got double R, hasn't he, on his palms? And they're my initials as well. So that also adds to that little bit.
It makes sense.
The
Yeah.
eel claw, man, that Baz was giving you. I was like, Jesus Christ, how do you take?
Yeah, he's a tough guy. Even now, like he's
a savage.
He's still a fucking savage, and very strong pad holders for my things, and he loves it. He loved Litway. We met in California, and actually was supposed to only do a couple like an hour of, you know, we had only a few times, but we ended up canceling our plans, and we went to eat together. And then Amazing. He said, you know what, you want to stay, like I really love what we did today. I have a class at 7, do you want to teach it with me? And like, so I ended up staying with him and teaching his class with him. And
Amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And where I was going with this is that he wants to hold like to do a TV reality with Litway, so I want to bring him to Myanmar. But to be honest, everybody that we spoke about Litway, like Kung Lee loves it. Frank Shamrock, they actually fought both them. They fought both Kung and Bass, but they all love Litway. They all want to do some kind of program with this, and I think we could definitely do some kind of contender series in the future for like who's the next upcoming Litway fighter.
I mean, Bass has always been about the headbutt anyway. We've all seen his self-defense video. Never underestimate the kick to the groin. I can deliver a headbutt out of nothing. Like
liver shot.
Liver shot. Yeah.
So you know that's the plan. But I think right now, just my goal was always to be champion. Now that I've done it, it just again I do it for fun. I do it because I enjoy it, and again, we'll see how many more years I want to do it. But once it's over, I'm going to continue for the love of the sport to promote it, to grow it, and to legislate it, and to you know, like we're doing the Poland World Championship in amateur. I'm going to be a guest there, but it's going to be the first amateur championship for Litway. It's going to be it's the second. This first one was held in Moscow in Russia, 2017. Now the Polish are going to host it in Warsaw. And I'm going to be attending this and see who's the guys. So it's going to be pretty cool. There's going to have like custom helmets for headbutts, and elbow pad, gloves, and it's going to be pretty brutal. I'm curious to see who's going to win this. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's
I kind of want to see the headgear.
Yeah, it's still being developed right now, but it's going to be pretty cool. So you have a lot of padding here. Like a little breed to breed on the head, but they're going to be able to headbutt and full rules.
That's
wow.
Brilliant.
That was
thank you for bringing it to the world.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys. Make sure you follow him. If you get the pleasure to do his seminar, cannot recommend it enough. There's the online video, which I got to, which is amazing refresher. Make sure you get that. The man's just the king. Follow him. Follow your journey. Thank you so much, Dave. You're a legend.
I'm going to see you very soon, my friend.
Can't wait, brother.
See you soon.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you so much, guys.
It was a pleasure.